What's going on, guys? I am Toxic Jordan. Welcome back to the channel. So today, because we're on a bit of a lull with Dokkan, there really isn't much content being put out at the moment. We're just kind of waiting for the part 2 of this celebration here. I did want to take a moment to dive a little deeper into Chain Battle and how it actually works, and what stuff really is important to pay attention to and what stuff isn't going to affect your scores as much. Just, and then a lot of helpful, tips and tricks that you may not have known before. So, I did a little bit of digging, and I found this article on Reddit that someone put together. It's not a new article, so, it's been posted for about a year, so, definitely not anything like brand new or like any new information that we didn't already have, but just kind of a deeper dive here. So we're just gonna read through pretty much this whole document. I already kind of skimmed through it, and I saw that there was some good kind of reliable information in here that I think will be worthwhile to take a look at. But I haven't read through everything yet, so there might even be things in here that surprise me a little bit. This is just gonna kind of be a full discussion video. Knowing myself already, I can assume that we're gonna be here for at least 40-45 minutes. So strap in, and you guys can go ahead and link level with me or whatever. That's what I'm doing over here on the side. So I'll just have that up, and then I think we, at various points, may actually jump into Chain Battle to take a look at some of the stuff that they're talking about here, potentially. So I also have, Dokkan up on the screen, so we can do that. Okay, so this is just a little introduction. Hello, just talking about, their motive behind doing this. Okay, so it's existed for blah blah blah. Okay, this is kind of fluff. Just introducing the game mode. Okay, so these are all the criteria that they keep track of in Chain Battle. Your raw stats being your HP, attack, and defense, which can also be boosted by the hidden potential system, nodes, and adding skill orbs to your character as well if they are stat boosting skill orbs. So then your super attack level, whether you're SA 10, and then the modifier, meaning whether you have supreme damage or immense damage or mega colossal damage, right? Any of those are the modifiers, which change the percentage that your attack is multiplied by when you super. And then your links, categories, and types shared. This is probably the most obvious one that everybody knows about, right? When you're trying to match up all of the best, connectors with your friend, supporter, and stuff, right? Okay, so then belonging in an advantageous category, which gives you the blue sparkles on the card, and then being an advantageous unit, having the red sparks on the card. So those are all the different things that it's going to measure. Okay, so the choice of your competition is done through three key inputs: your attacker, your connectors, and your supporters. This is very basic information. We all know this stuff. Yeah, I think all of this is very much the basics, the intro. We're probably going to skip through all of this, because you all know that the main attacker is the unit that is going to be dealing the damage, right? This is the one that actually does the super attack. It's the very first unit that you choose. Oh, no, I guess there are some tips in here. Okay, we are going to go through this. So you definitely want a red spark unit. Now, obviously, this is pretty obvious for most people. I assume that a lot of people are usually going to have, the most obvious best unit that you should be using as the attacker. Usually, nowadays, the way they've designed these chain battles is that ends up being a unit that is brand new to the game, that you just pulled. So I suppose it is possible that some people won't have, whatever main unit, but if you're going to use a different unit, then you really want it to be a red spark unit. That is going to be... so it says with the highest stats you can and the highest SA level and modifier as possible. So that definitely means if there's a toss-up between a TUR and an LR, you probably want the LR, because the LR is going to have a higher SA level, because they're going to be SA 20 instead of 10 or 15 or whatever. And then their modifier is also going to be higher, because it's likely that they're doing colossal or mega colossal damage depending on their attack modifier, which obviously TURs can't do. So that is something interesting that I didn't really realize before. And now, obviously, these are things if you use the Misaka guides on Twitter and stuff, then all of this is already going to be explained for you, and you won't have to figure any of this out. But it is nice to know that these are the things that they're calculating. So it's going to be a little easier for us to understand when Misaka shows us the guide. I'm going to be able to understand why that unit that is the best possible attacker is actually in that number 1 slot. So that will be useful. Okay, and then we'll skip through the examples because we get it, right? Okay, so the second key feature is the connectors. So here your goal is to maximize every previous cited criterion except for SA level, meaning all of the stats, right? Because they are going to, highest stats you can, and modifiers as well. Because it said all of the previous cited criterion except for SA level. Okay, I don't actually think that the modifier matters for those either, though. I don't think that it does. But basically the highest stats, right? Okay, so it says a unit like AGL LR Super Saiyan Gohan is a dream connector because he has high stats, very common links, and tons of categories. Makes sense, because those are all the things that you want from that character, right? And then you have your supporters, which are, the one where you do the 10 super, 10 extremes, and then, you want all of the ones with the best possible, similar categories in typing and everything like that. Okay, so it says the units you want to add or select are ones just like the connectors. You want to maximize all the criteria except for SA level. So it is actually interesting that SA level completely does not matter for those characters. This is actually kind of a flawed thing to say. I'll get into why in a minute, but technically the SA level does matter on these characters. So that is kind of a bad thing to say. And then like right here too. I'll explain it in a second though. Let's get through this. So the higher amount of shared... Oops, my link level run. I do not know how long that was sitting. Okay, so the higher amount of links shared, categories, and type with the connector, the better score you'll get. Being a red or blue unit is also crucial, adds significant damage boost. And hidden potential is the foundation of your damage. So, this is a really good point, because the hidden potential system is going to allow all of your units to have way higher stats, and all of the unit stats are being calculated. So if you have a bunch of 0% units on there, your score is going to be millions lower than if all of those units are rainbowed, right? So that does make a huge difference. Now, here's something to consider. The bottom right path of the hidden potential system can only be filled out if you super attack level your character. So you need to have your character at super attack level 10 in order for you to maximize their hidden potential. And here they're saying hidden potential is the foundation of your damage. So how can you say that SA level doesn't matter? The SA level absolutely matters if your character is at 69% or more, because that means you have the bottom right path unlocked, and you're going to need to SA level the character in order to maximize the hidden potential. So technically, you do need SA level on any characters that are going to be used in your chain battle setup. Ideally, for the most optimal setups, you're going to want all of them fully SA'd, or at least SA 10, right? Because if it's an LR character, or a character that has an easy A, or say even like a Super Strike, because in the current chain battle, we have to use like the Mercenary Tau Super Strike, so that is a unit that needs to get to SA 15, but you would only need to get him to SA 10 to be able to maximize the hidden potential system, right? So technically, for certain units, the ones that it says SA doesn't matter, that just means it's not actually, the game isn't actually calcing the number being like 1 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 and giving you different score based on those things. But it is, a secondary effect that it does affect the hidden potential system. So keep that in mind for sure. Okay, so the last important step is your battle against the enemy, the pick 3 phase. So usually this is actually good terminology. I like this. I think I'm going to start referring to that phase as the pick 3 phase, because where you have to pick 3 units, it makes sense. So usually you want to choose the units sharing more categories, links, and types together, as it will increase your score. You also want to make this selection as fast as possible to avoid losing points. However, contrarily to popular belief, pick 3 phase has by far the least impact on your final score. It could give a difference of about 500k points between the best and worst possible selections, which is negligible on scores going above 100 million. Very, very true. So, I did not know this. This phase is actually very, very unimportant. It's kind of some split information because this paragraph goes with something like way down here. So we'll talk about that more when we get down to that section of the document. Yeah, we'll come back to the pick 3 thing. So, this is a really cool part. This is probably my favorite part of the entire document here, is this graphic. So this shows you which parts of a unit's card are going to be valued in which, as which portion of like which type of unit you're using them as in chain battle. This is a super, super good chart. I would say you definitely want to refer to this. So, for your main attacker, it does matter about their stats, it matters about their SA level, and it doesn't matter about their categories, links, and types, because they are not, they're not going to be linking up with any of the other ones, right? So it just matters that they're an advantageous character and they belong to the advantageous category. So that means that if you have a main attacker, let's say there's 2 main attacker units, right? And they're both on all 3 of the advantageous categories, and they're both red sparkle characters, so they're type advantage characters, right? And then let's say one of them is an LR and one's a TUR. It's probably safe to assume you're going to want to use the LR over the TUR, because the LR is going to have a higher SA level and have higher stats. And you don't need to consider their shared categories, types, and links and stuff with the other characters. So that is kind of an interesting thing to note. That doesn't matter, right? And then again, for the connectors and supporters, for SA level not to matter, kind of does because of hidden potential, but we understand. And then obviously all of the other stuff matters for these characters. But this is the most important part to remember down here, which this part was brand new information for me. The pick 3 characters, all that matters is their types, links, and categories. That's it. None of the other stuff matters based on like the blue, them being all the advantageous characters or on the advantageous categories, like the blue and red sparkles. That's a really good thing to note, because oftentimes what I would end up doing in the pick 3 phase is, okay, actually for this, let's go ahead and jump straight into chain battle, and I'll show you guys directly, so I don't have to sit here and just try and explain it verbally. Okay, so we'll jump in here real quick. I'm probably going to have to set everything up. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, that's good, because Piccolo is right there. Okay, so I guess we'll throw out a decent super type lineup, and then I want to throw out a really good extreme type lineup to try and make a point for this. This one's pretty good. We have 3 Piccolos on there. Let me see if I can find one with 4 Piccolos really quick. If I could, that would be ideal. Obviously, that's like a really, really tough ask, so... Okay, I guess we'll go in with this, and we'll hope for a decent thing, so I can show you what I'm thinking of here. So oftentimes when when I'm doing the pick 3 phase, so like right now, the best possible characters for chain battle between both superclass and extreme class, I think, are the Piccolos, because they're on all 3 of the categories. They're on the most, they have the most advantageous stuff. So... Okay, this didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to. But let's say on this screen right now, we had 3 Gokus that we could pick from, but then we had 3 Piccolos, right? Even though the Piccolos are better, assuming we had 3 Piccolos here, let's say they're the better characters, but then they're not all like rainbowed and stuff. Like, let's say one of them is like an SSR of one of the characters, and it's at 0% in the dupe system and stuff. I would be nervous to pick that, because I thought that like the SA level of these characters mattered and stuff. And like the fact that all of the Piccolos have like the most amount of advantageous categories and stuff, I would have picked them. But it turns out all that matters is their shared links and categories and stuff. So on this page, all we need to do is find the 3 that are the most similar to each other. So we have 2 World Tournament Gokus here, and then I want to say that the TN is probably going to be there too. So that's actually probably our best bet to do, because and then what I would assume, like power-wise, if we were going based on the strength of the characters and how relevant they are to the chain battle, I probably would pick the 2 Piccolo Juniors and then the LR Grade 8 Vegeta. But because it's just about the similarness between them, the Vegeta isn't going to have as much similarities with the Piccolo Juniors as the TN does with the Gokus. I hope that all makes sense. I hope that I explained that in a way that made a bunch of sense for you guys. It would have been easier for me to show if we had the actual units set up, in the pick 3 phase that I wanted. If there was like 3 Piccolos and 3 Gokus, I could have explained that much easier. But yeah. So, jumping down to the next portion here. This is where it gets a little bit fuzzy. We're probably gonna skip most of this part, because this is most of just the complaining part 2, criticism. So where people talk about chain battle being RNG and chain battle being like whale mode and stuff. There is some truth to these arguments, but he is basically trying to reel in these arguments and just explain that the game modes need to be played in a different way. And which I do kind of agree with, right? It's not 100% RNG. I mean, so he has some points in here talking about how all of Dokkan Battle is basically RNG. Right? And RNG is everywhere. It's just a part of Dokkan Battle. And so that is kind of true, but I guess it's just because all of the values in the game mode are hidden. So at least in every other game mode, there is RNG, but you actually know what's going to happen ahead of time, right? Like you're not just left guessing pretty much. And that's kind of how it is with chain battle. Like imagine chain battle is like, okay, yeah, there's RNG in red zone, but what if the enemy didn't have a life bar? A visible life bar, and you just had to keep attacking them until they were dead, and you had no idea when they were going to be dead. Imagine how much harder red zone would be, right? Because then people would complain about the RNG of like, oh, we don't know when they're going to super attack, and we don't know when they're going to dodge us, and we don't know when the AoEs are going to hit and stuff, because all those values would be hidden from you. That's kind of what it feels like playing chain battle. That's why people complain about the RNG here. It's not that there is any more RNG in chain battle than the rest of the game. It's that it's all hidden. And they don't give it to you up front, so it doesn't feel fair. You don't feel like you have a fighting chance against it. And I totally agree with those arguments. And then saying chain battle is a whale mode. Well, it is in the sense that usually nowadays, it's actually funny that this is an argument from a year ago, because back then, that was definitely not true. I would say it's more of a whale mode now, for sure. That is more of a fair discussion at the moment, because what they've done with a lot of these chain battles is, like I was saying earlier, they've modeled them after the celebration that you're currently in, which makes it more exciting, right? It gives you more incentive to summon for the brand new units. It gives you another place that you want to use the brand new units you just summoned for. And then theme-wise, it also makes sense that they would do that too, right? Just to kind of keep in the theme of the celebration. So it is a whale mode in the sense that if you don't whale out and summon for the new characters every time, then you're not going to be able to have amazing support lineups or the best possible attackers and connectors for that chain battle, which is very common. So I can understand that agreement a little bit. But the other thing is, you only need to... The argument that he makes in here is that you only need 3 units of your own. And then the rest of it is just, you can put up whatever crap characters you want. You're depending on other people's support lineups for you to do well. So, okay, while that is true, this is also kind of an unfair argument to make, because all these things go hand in hand, right? If you're the type of person who isn't putting up good support lines, that also means you're the type of person who doesn't summon for every character, and that means you're probably not like a super like diehard Dokkan person who's like refreshing your stamina with stones and playing all day every day, and you have millions of power level and you have 999 rank. Those are the kind of people who are going to be matched up with other people who have high power level and high rank and who have all the characters. So if you don't have some good support lineups yourself, it's really, really unlikely that the friend lineups you're being suggested are much better than the ones you have. Unless you're someone who has whaled out for rank, because rank is something that basically manages the friend system for you. If you notice, you're going to be given random guests on your friends list who are similar rank to you. So if you rank up really, really high and you get yourself to rank 999, even if you're a free-to-play player and you don't have... you don't have a lot of the characters and stuff, then I think you would have a really good shot at getting paired up with other people who, who have really high rank too, and chances are those people are going to have better support lineups than you, and then you'd be in business. So this is kind of true, but still kind of not, right? So yeah, I didn't really like this part of the of the document that much. Oh, okay, and then here's the third. We'll go over this really quick. So the chain battle is boring and time consuming. Okay, so the only reason why people feel like it is time consuming is because you have to do all of the work on the game mode before the game mode starts. And people generally don't like doing that. People just want to press play and then at least be able to just play the game in the game mode. But the fact that you have to spend so much time hunting for good teams and building your support lineups and doing all of this stuff, right? And if you want to have really good support lineups, then now you're spending days and days in advance farming up units and making sure that you have your hidden potential system filled out in them, and or link leveling them if they're attacker units that you're going to use and stuff. So it does feel like there's a lot of prep work that goes into chain battle. So I do completely understand that part of people saying that it's time consuming. I think that if you were able to actually press play and do a lot more of this weird like workaround stuff of the supporters and the connectors and all this stuff, if it felt like you were actually playing a game that was like a live action thing against you, like if there was timers on all of it, right? And it was like, so you already feel like you're in the game mode, I think people would complain less about the time consuming thing. Though I'm not saying that that's a good solution, because if they did add timers, then people would complain even more because it's hard enough as is. And then if you put a time limit on people to be able to select their stuff, then I'm sure it would be a complete nightmare, right? So that's definitely not a good fix, but I guess I understand the argument. But then obviously the counter argument is like, oh, it's 5 minutes 3 times a day, and 15 minutes isn't that bad, right? For me, my part of the argument is I say that it's absolutely worth the time it takes to go in there and try for a second because of the rewards you get. And you don't even have to do this, he's saying, 3 tries a day or 5 tries a day or whatever it is, because obviously if you want to maximize the number of emblems of cooperation that you're getting, I would recommend you do all of your tries every single day. And as it only takes 15 hours to fully refresh your stamina, because it's 5 chunks of stamina, and you have, they refill once every 3 hours, you can actually do more than 5 runs per day if you keep draining your stamina over and over and over. I don't know that it's quite worth spending the 5 stones per day that you can spend, to like get the extra 1 try per stone. Probably not worth an entire stone to gain that, because you only get 15 emblems of cooperation per run that you do per day. And then on top of that, maybe 4 extra from the nices you can send. So you're not getting that much where it'd be worth spending the stone, but I would say it's worth doing all of your tries per day for sure. But after you get a good run where you have your top 1% completed, or you've at least gotten your 100 million points, so you've gotten all the missions taken care of, which is where you gain the bulk of your rewards, right? Then I would say you could just go in there and just click random buttons. That's what I do. I just drain all my attempts every day and just click on random things. I don't care what the score is, and then I just let it auto through. I just completely skip the pick 3 phase. I don't even pay attention to my phone for it, because all of the animations that run through there are so long. So then I just let it auto and then just do my thing from there. But yeah, I would say it's definitely worth doing all of it for the rewards you get. Okay, so tips and tricks. I think there were a few things in here, and then I guess if I can think of any tips or tricks once we get through this, I'll add those on to the end of the discussion here. Okay, so the pick 3 pause. You guys actually just saw me do it a minute ago when we were in the pick 3 phase. So all you have to do in Dokkan Battle is, maybe not everyone's phone has this, but you just go into the little, app selection screen here, and then you can, and then you can basically pause Dokkan Battle, and you won't, and then, so basically if you do this on the pick 3 phase, right at the beginning of the pick 3 phase, then it'll pause it, and you'll have more time to look at the units that you want to select, so that once you unpause it, you can select them right away, and then you don't worry about the timer going down. That's a great tip, but it is also completely useless because the pick 3 hardly matters. This is what I was going to say that he re-references, because he was talking about it earlier. So what he did right here is somebody used this man's his same super class lineup and his extreme class lineup 3 times in a row. So they used the stone refresh to get the support lineups back for free every day that you can do 5 times per day. So he did that 3 times in a row, used the exact same setup 3 times in a row, and the only difference was the pick-me phase. And if you see the final scores here, we're seeing that they're very, very close, right? They're only a difference of 150k. So yeah, the pick-me phase basically just doesn't matter at all. So that's kind of interesting to note that, yeah, that phase is pretty much useless. So I guess you don't need to stress too much about the units that you get there. It is all of the stuff at the beginning that is going to be making the huge difference, which is a good thing to note, that that is good information to have, because have been a lot of times in the past where I've been curious about, you know, like, oh, I thought that my support lines were really good that time, and I thought I was going to beat my high score, but then my pick-me phase, like, had really crap characters, and I got gypped there, and so I thought that, like, oh man, the run got ruined because of the pick-3 phase, and that is not the case. So now we know that for the future. Okay, so number 3 says, ask people for help and prosper others. Yeah, okay, there's like Discords and stuff that you can go on. You can go on the Dokkan Battle subreddit. There's a lot of neat places that you can, you know, find help for these kind of things. You can go on Twitter, on social media. There's plenty of good places. If you are somebody that is really, really seeking help in Chain Battle and you don't know where to look, feel free to DM me on anything. All of my info is I put it in the comments, or in the description section of every single video, so you can find it there, or you can just comment on this video too and reach out to me that way. I would be happy to share those resources with you, because I know plenty of places that you can link up with the rest of the Dokkan Battle community and you know, get some better people on your friends list that are willing to help you out. Okay, so number 4, do not invest if you do not have the resources to spare. Wrong. I am going to ixnay this argument, because the rewards for Chain Battle are so amazing now on the amount of, you know, stones that they give out, the hidden potential system orbs they give out, and then not to mention the emblems of cooperation, so that you can get all of the equipment, which that system has recently been revamped, and the treasure chests that you know, spend currency on to earn all of your equipment have just been boosted insanely, and they are so strong. At this point, they are definitely, you know, worth earning currency for. So yeah, I would definitely say that it is worth, you know, it is worth spending your resources on these characters. I think Chain Battle is a very, very good mode. And yeah, again, like, if you're not building good lineups, then you're probably not getting matched up with people who have good lineups either. I think it is really okay. So let me actually interject with kind of a yes and point about what I was saying about this. Okay, so at the very beginning of Chain Battle, a lot of people play. If you have a good support lineup, like, people jump in the moment that Chain Battle starts. As far as, like, people that know they want to score high and people that actually do well in the game mode, they will start playing right away. People that don't necessarily care as much, or just might take a run at it, but they know they don't have all the best support lineups. A lot of those people aren't playing Dokkan every minute of every day, so they're probably not jumping in right when the game mode happens. They'll log in within the next 24 hours or so, and then maybe they'll set their lineups then, right? So this is why it's really important to have your lineup set right at the beginning of Chain Battle, especially if you have good support lineups, because then all of the Chain Battle tryhards are going to be on right away, and they're all going to use your lineups. So what happens for me is, when I set my lineups right at the beginning of Chain Battle, right when it starts, then there's a bunch of people who use my lineups because I invest a lot of resources in my characters and give them good lineups to use. Mine gets selected a bunch, and then I get a couple hundred emblems of cooperation, like, overnight. I just go to sleep, wake up, and then I got a couple hundred. And like, there's like 50 notifications on my little, like, people use your friend supporter thing, because I set them right away, and they're good. So it ends up being worthwhile for me, because I optimally play Chain Battle. So when I invest the resources, I really do feel like I get, you know, I get resources back. That makes it feel worth it. Okay, so the connectors reset. Your connectors come back as options at daily reset. So obviously talking about the connectors being, you know, the side units that you would, you know, put next to all of the friend supporters. So yeah, they daily reset, and if you run out of attempts, if you're currently out of attempts, you can spend a Dragon Stone to get 1 attempt back. You can do this 5 times per day, and if you spend the stone, you will get everything back. The friend supporters that you used will be replenished, and the connectors that you have used will be replenished as well. So if you didn't know that, then there you go. Now you know. But usually I would say this next tip makes it so that you don't have to ever depend on spending a Dragon Stone here. I would say that's kind of a waste if you got yourself to that point. Can be good for those desperate last day score increases that you're trying to get, but previously to that, you should know that support lineups reset every 30 minutes. So, yeah, so basically, if you log in and see that there are no good friend supporter options and you don't feel like you're going to get a high score with any teams that are available, then just wait. Come back in 30 minutes. It resets on the hour and on every half hour. And then you'll be able to see some new lineups. And then I guess, okay, I'm going to read this verbatim because he does explain a little, he explains a little tech in here that I'm not 100% sure how it works, but it is kind of interesting. So, however, it is possible to keep a lineup for an hour max instead of 30 minutes. So for the following example, it's 6:23 p.m. You have a great super class lineup, but the extremes aren't good. So if you don't play any other events or close the app, once 6:30 rolls around, your super lineup will still be there, and the proposed lineups will have reset. This allows you to be more flexible with your lineups and possibly get better options. However, don't try to hold it for another reset because it will not work and the game mode will crash. Interesting. Okay, so I guess it's saying as long as you stay in chain battle. So basically, if you just leave your phone idle on the screen at 6:23 when you have your super lineup there, and then you switch to the screen where you're selecting your extreme lineup, and then you just wait. And then after 6:30 rolls around, you refresh the extreme lineups, and then there'll be new extreme lineups, but your old super lineup will still be sitting there. So you can actually get 2 rolls. So if you have a good super lineup, you can get 2 rolls on your extreme lineups before you'll have to ixnay the whole thing and then reset. So that is kind of interesting to know. But yeah, so I think that segues well into the next point, that patience is key. You have 7 days to get something good, so don't be rushing into it and then checking on it every 30 minutes and, trying to get the best support lineups before just rushing in and wasting your connectors for the day is the way to do it. But yeah, being patient is definitely the way this game mode goes. So very interesting stuff. I think people are finally catching on to the idea that, Chain Battle is just supposed to be one of those side game modes that's just kind of like a dip in, dip out every day type of thing. So, but I will say that is something that I don't like as a Link leveler. I don't like to have to stop consistently. It's the same reason that I hate Patan Battle, because that is a game mode that's super high maintenance. It's such a needy game mode. It causes me to have to go into it every few minutes, and I hate that so much, especially when you're a few days into Patan Battle and all of your teams are ending at different times. So now it feels like once every 30 minutes, I have to constantly stop to check on Patan Battle to reset my teams. And like on this last Patan Battle, I actually didn't even earn one of the cards because we had a new set of cards. I ended up missing one. There was one that I never earned, but it's because I went hours and hours and like completely forgot about Patan. And I'm like, oh, I've been link leveling. I never even saw the home screen. And if you continue to just, go like repeat stage and just continue link leveling and you never exit back to the main menu, then it's never going to give you the little notification that your Patan battles have finished, which is kind of a sucky thing. I think they should add that, actually. That should be something that they add on the results screen. That way, before you click play again, you would see the little notification for Chain Battle there, or for whatever game mode, Patan Battle. But yeah, so that is kind of an unfortunate thing that now that I'm trying to min-max on Chain Battle, that kind of gets in the way of link leveling as well. So, kind of bummy. But next thing here, do not forget about Chain Battle or Hidden Potential on your lineups. Yes, it does make a difference. Okay, he's just kind of being repetitive there. Oh, and this too. Do not underestimate the impact of skill orbs. So yeah, I did briefly mention earlier that adding skill orbs to your characters would make a difference. It's only the skill orbs that have specifically say that they boost your attack stat number, your defensive stat number, or your HP stat number. So, because those 3 numbers are calced. For your attackers and your connectors, I believe it is calcing the attack stat much more than the other stats. So you definitely want to do attack boosting skill orbs would be the best possible ones you can do. Any of like the super attack boosting ones or the crits and additionals and stuff, none of that matters, obviously. But for the stat boosting ones specifically, those are good. And then for your main attacker, actually, I would say the super attack boosting skill orbs could be good as well, because those are going to impact your super attack modifier. So I think that would, those ones would be good just for your main attacker though. Okay, and then it says use resources at your disposal. Yes. So there are a few good Twitter accounts right here Yeah, go follow these people on Twitter. They have I show in all of my pain battle in all of my chain battle videos. I show Misaka's charts that they make, because they make some great visualizations to help you know which units are going to be the best for you to use in chain battle and so on. So yeah, definitely try out the game mode. Wonderful. I think that is basically everything. Yeah, pretty much nothing else we need to go into here. Okay, so then there is one more little part that I wanted to take a look at. This is a separate thing that somebody else has. Oh, you can't view this chart very well here. Let's do this. Okay, there we go. So this is a chart that somebody figured out how the little meter fills up here for the super type lineup and the extreme type lineup. This was something I found, again, not super relevant, because, like, obviously if you have a halfway decent lineup on the super class or extreme class side, it's going to fill up all the way, right? Like, you have to have a really bad lineup. Like, if you take a look at these, most of these characters, there's, like, no red sparkle characters here, and then, like, 4 blue sparkle characters, and then 2 of them are just basic. Like, this is obviously really bad, and you can see they're, like, 50% full, right? So, it doesn't take much to fill these up, to where you'd actually want them. But I guess somebody figured out all of the values of how these things are actually calculated. So the first thing that it's taking a look at here is the, shoot, on my stream, this is looking really, I hope that you guys can, I hope that this is a clear image for you guys. I'm sorry if it's not. Can I zoom in? I don't know. Okay. So, yeah, so for the super type lineup up here, it's looking at the category coefficient. So the category coefficient, it's saying basically you get 15 points for every shared category. And then the total amount of shared categories between all of these is 11. So basically it's saying how many categories does the Super Gogeta share with the blue Vegeta right here. And then let's say it's just like 1, because Realm of Gods. So then it would add 1 to our count of 11 right here, right? And then how many does he share with Vegito? 2, because they have Realm of Gods and they have a Fuse Fighter. So then that's going to make it this total count 3 altogether. Make sense? So it's just doing that for all 6 characters, and then it gives you a total count. 11 is extremely low. A much higher number would be like 72 or something. If you had like a lot of units that had a bunch of the same categories or something, right? And so then it multiplies these two numbers together and you have your final point value. It does the exact same thing for the element coefficient, meaning the typing, right? So whether you're tech or AGL or whatever. So obviously with this one, he's AGL. There's only 2 AGL characters here, so you get a total count of 2. You get 10 points per that. So the most you could get is 60 there. So he gets 20, and then the link coefficient, you only get 5 per link, which does make sense because there are a lot more links that are going to be shared between them. As you can see, this is a pretty bad link sharing setup, and they've got 18 here. So you get a total of 90 points when you multiply the two together. So adding all the point values together, he's at 275. In order to get to 100%, you need 520. So he's at 52% here. Makes perfect sense how that is all calced. Now, here's why I say this is encouraging, because these values are really, really low. They're using a bad example here to show you, because obviously if the bar was like over 100% full, then it wouldn't be a great example of like what this actually looks like. So, something that I went and did on my own, I don't really have any visuals of it here, but I just have it written on a sticky note. So I basically estimated if you had the perfect setup, if your connector here was the same typing as all 6 characters, you're all like AGL, right? And then let's say it's the same unit. Like, so for instance, Super Saiyan Gotenks. There are a ton of Super Saiyan Gotenkses in the game. They're all exactly named Super Saiyan Gotenks. Let's assume they're all exactly the same typing, and they share 7 out of 7 links on all of them. And they have, I went with an estimate of like 12 categories, seemed fair. I think they do have, the Super Saiyan Gotenks would have 12 categories, and they all share the same exact 12 categories. Which I believe that is true. Then if you were to do that lineup, your total points right here would equal out to almost 1900. It would be 1896. And in order to get 100%, you only need 520. So to put that in perspective, you really don't need it to be that good of a lineup in order to get 100% on these bars. So that is kind of a comfy thing to know, I guess, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I guess that makes sense why. So for these bars to fill up all the way, you don't need the red or blue sparkles. Those aren't factored in here at all. It's literally just the consistency between the characters. So on this bottom one, you can see this is a very, very old chain battle. Back in, if you were around when chain battle first started, then you probably remember that for the first few chain battles, people discovered that because some of the extreme class lineups were so bad, it was actually better. You would get a higher score just running perfect cells, even though perfect cells weren't like on the type effective category or anything, and they weren't the type effective characters. Like, as you can see here, none of them are sparkling at all. It's just that they were so good as far as having a bunch of the same links and a bunch of the same categories, and there were the most amount of cell cards at the time in the game, that it was just strongest to do this. So if they had chosen a better friend connector here, like a perfect cell, then you would see all of these values go up a ton, and this one definitely would have been at 100%. Because as you can see, he just has like a Goku Black here, and he's already at 50%, and none of them are advantageous characters. So, yeah, so interesting things to note. Ooh, okay. Well, we are... Let me switch back over to this. We are 40 whopping minutes into this. I think I got a pretty good, solid explanation here. What I'm going to do really quick before we finish up, I don't want to go too much further past like 45 minutes here. I think we do need to kind of get a wrap up on this video. But I think I want to just jump into a chain battle run to see really quick if there were any other things that I could think of as far as like a tip or trick that I'd want to give you guys. So let me see. In fact, let me do this really quick, and then that's... There we go, since we don't need the website anymore. Okay. Oh, I suppose one thing I was going to complain about is that I hate that it doesn't show you what the top 1% cutoff is when you're top 1%. That's kind of the worst thing, because if I was right above the cutoff, and if like the cutoff was 101 million... then I would definitely want to know that so that I can continue to boost my score higher and higher, right? So that is kind of crappy that it doesn't show you, and then it'll only tell you if you're below a threshold and tell you what the next threshold is. But it will only tell you, even if you're below one, what the next threshold is. It won't tell you like what all of them are. I think it would be so easy for them to just add the numbers in here, right here visually on the tier. So you could literally just see all the numbers and know exactly where everyone stands. Like, why not add that, right? I just hate, again, the common theme of chain battle is all the values are hidden. It's so annoying that all the values are hidden. It would be so much better if they would just reveal this information to us. Yeah, would be good, would be good. Let's see, is there anything about like battle info or the battle guide or battle results that I would want to talk about? Kind of not. I mean, this is a good resource looking at the battle info. This is the battle results here. So going into the battle info and then onto the battle results page, I would say is definitely something worthwhile to do, because you're going to get examples of what all the top people are doing, right? And if you look through quite a few of them, you're going to start to notice the same or similar like attackers for a lot of these people, which this chain battle is a bad example because a lot of people don't have the characters. So they look very different. Before... a lot of other chain battles where the characters are more common that you'd have, then you're going to see a lot of the same setups, and it'll give you a good idea what to use. And then the battle log. Oh, I actually didn't know that you could access this here. So you can get to the battle log through the chain battle screen. Interesting. Not just on the home screen there. Good stuff. And then I suppose supporters for lending... I mean, we already went over what, like, the good criteria for this stuff is. But yeah, I would definitely say it is worthwhile to, it is worthwhile to set up. Oh, this is what I'm going to show you. Okay, yeah. Exciting stuff. This is what you should be setting up for your chain battle. You should be setting up a tag. So I have a tag in my box where as soon as a chain battle is, as soon as a new chain battle is announced, right? What happens is the data miners will go in, and then they'll find out what the best characters are based on like the type advantage categories and what the advantageous characters are and stuff. And then that's when Misaka will post on Twitter. In fact, I'm going to go back onto Misaka's Twitter right now to pull this back up. That. And then switch back to this. There we go. Okay, so yeah, then Misaka will put up a graphic like this on Twitter, and we'll get to see what the best, what the best lineups are for Chain Battle. And then what I do is I go through my box, and I just count down the line. So I'm like, okay, if this is going to be the best possible units, I'll say, do I have this unit? Add it. This unit, add it. Don't have these two, so I'll add this unit. Don't have that unit, I'll add this one. Don't have that unit, add this one, and keep going down until you've added 10 super type units to your box. And then do the same thing for the extreme side until you've have your best 10 extreme type units added, right? And then if any of those units aren't fully worked on yet and you need to go awaken them, or you need to add, feed in orbs into their hidden potential. And then also another thing to note is you're going to want to add the equipment. So as you can see on all of them, I've added attack boosting equipment or like HP boosting equipment, just stuff to get their stats up as high as it can go, right? So I've done that for every single one of these characters. They all have equipment, added on. Except for like maybe like this guy, right? Because he's like my main attacker, so it didn't matter. I just put like good equips on him that I'd want those on him anyway. So yeah, that's definitely something that I recommend. And then another thing that I do is I actually link level all of my characters that I'm going to use for Chain Battle, which obviously that doesn't actually matter because you don't use any links in Chain Battle, so links completely don't matter. But at this point in the game, I have link leveled so much of my box that every single character I choose to link level nowadays is just some worthless fodder crap, and I feel like I might as well give myself a little bit of structure to my link leveling and link level units that I'm actually about to use, and then it just kind of gives me a reason to feel like I need to link level these 20 characters, or whichever like 10 or 5 of them I didn't have done yet. As opposed to just what would I be doing otherwise? Just picking completely random mundane characters to link level, and it would make the experience of link leveling tainted a little bit for me, and I'm sure it would start to get more boring more quickly. So this way I feel like I'm keeping up with the game, and I'm always trying to link level the relevant units that are around at the time, right? So yeah, I think that's about everything that I wanted to show here. Let's do one more run through though, because I do want to actually get through a successful run of Chain Battle. But those are definitely the tricks and tips, probably like the best tricks and tips that I've got. Oh, actually, no, I have another tip for you guys that I'll show you right now. So when you've got your lineup here, let's say you've got this guy as your connector, okay? You can always go back. So first, let's take a look at the details. There's a little details button up here. I don't know if you knew about it. I hope you did. This will show you all of the categories that are being put together, all of the, all the typings that are being shared, and all the links that are being shared, the way that I explained before, where it's comparing this to all of those, right? So now you can look at these values here and say we're at a 39, 2, and 24. I don't think that there's any difference between the three of these. So all you need to do is add them up and then remember the total number between them. So that's what, 41, 65. So we have a total of 65 right here. So then what I can do is I can go back to my supporters, and then I can scroll through and be like, ooh, this one looks really good too. So then with that one set up on it, and obviously you'd want to remember the name of the other one. You got to remember their friend leader name so that you don't lose the previous team you were using. So then we'll click on our new team. We remembered it was 65 from before, so now we have 36, 2, and 18, which is definitely less, right? So this one isn't as good. And then that's how you know for sure whether one team is going to perform better than another, right? But the tricky thing is, this team might perform better with a different connector. Like this guy, for instance. Then we could go and check, and now we're at 41, 4, and 17. So it does perform better. And this is actually, so 41, 4, that's 45, plus 17, ooh, math. So that's 55 plus 7 is 63. So this is slightly worse than the other setup that we had. So you see what I mean? You can very, very clearly tell which teams are going to be better and which ones are going to be worse. But yeah, so I guess that's the best tip that I can give you. Another tip, if you are like me, I'm post 1%. So like I'm already top 1% by a long shot, and I already have my 100 million points done. So I'm good to go. I don't really care about my scores for the rest of this. So something that I'm going to do is keep track of who I'm selecting on the super and extreme side. So I selected Cuckoo on the super side. I don't want to select a guest because at the end, it's not going to allow me to send them a nice. And in fact, I will use a guest this time just so I can show you. So let's just run it real quick. But at the end, I'm going to want to make sure to maximize the amount of emblems of cooperation I can get by sending nices. So you only want to select people that are on your friends list right there, because you can send those people a nice. But you also want to keep track of if there's someone you've already used for the day, because if you've already sent them a nice, then you can't do it again. And that does apply if they used your friend supporters as well. Okay, so this is the pick 3 phase, and you see where it says hold off the enemy before the timer starts counting down. You can swipe up, and then you'll be safe here. So now we can take as long as we want to select our units. We're going to go ahead and select the Gokus and the Krillin. Okay. Let's see what kind of score we're looking at here. It's probably not going to be anything amazing. Maybe like 70k? 50k, yeah. Okay, so... Yeah, so, okay, as you can see, we get our dailies, we get the daily emblems of cooperation, but you will also earn these 15 emblems of cooperation every single time you do a run, no matter what. So that's why I said it's worthwhile to just do all of your runs every day. Not even just the 5, but to continue to do like a couple extra, because you can do that. So here you can see it just allows you to send a friend request, which I think this person's friend list is full, and that's why it was grayed out like that, because they have 100 out of 100. But yeah, so you want to make sure to use your friends. That way you can send them a nice, and then earn your extra 2 emblems of cooperation. And then also, if you send them one, they can send one back, and then you'll get some extra points there as well. But yeah, so definitely worthwhile. And then keep in mind for what I was saying at the beginning of Chain Battle, when you want to set up your support lines right away, that way people have the ability to use them. When you set your lines and people use them, you get 10 points for that, not just 2. So that is much more useful, because if 10 people use them, that's already one piece of equipment for you, right? So that is good stuff. And then, yeah, I think actually just to prove my point about how the treasure chests have been improved, we're gonna go do one pull on the treasure chest real quick, and I will show you. We're definitely gonna get something amazing. I'm super confident. Here we go. We'll go by 10s. Look at that. We got a level 6 attack, so I can use that on an int character in the next chain battle. Wonderful. What's this? Level 4 combo, level 2 crit. That's amazing. These are so good. Look at, we got 3 level 5 additionals just now. And we got, what is this? Level 2 crit, level 4 additional. Like all of these are amazing. They've fixed these treasure chests to where it's like mostly or only really good equips in here now. So very, very good stuff. Chain Battle is a mode that you want to min-max on. You want this stuff. You want it. I'm telling you. Go balls to the wall in Chain Battle every single time. Okay, I am going to peace out before we hit an hour, because holy goodness, it is going to take so long to render this video and to upload it to YouTube. If you guys are still chilling here, then thank you so much for listening to me ramble, and I hope that you learned a thing or two. If you know any secrets about Chain Battle that I did not mention at any point in this video, feel free to spill them in the comments below. I'll pin your comment for sure, if you do that. All right, well, thank you so much for sticking with me. That is going to do it for this one, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace!